If you're watching this, it's because you're thinking about driving the Alcan Highway in the near future. And the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of really dumb stuff you can do as you're driving the Alcan. And today we're going to be talking about some of those to help you avoid these in the future. I may or may not have committed a couple of these myself many times that I've driven the Alcan. My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And today we are going to be talking about the stupidest things you can do on the Alcan. And before we do that though, make sure you go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. I can see in the analytics that quite a few of you will actually watch the content and not subscribe to the channel, and that hurts my feelings. But more importantly, that doesn't send a really strong message to the algorithm that you're getting benefit from this content. So please make sure to go ahead and subscribe as well. And let's go and jump into today's video. One of the biggest mistakes you can make when you're driving the Alcan is not showing up to the border with all your ducks in a row and having all your paperwork in order. Okay, you really want to just show up there with all the appropriate documentation for crossing the border and everything filled out, and make sure that if you have like a bunch of stuff you're bringing with you, you have an itemized list that you can put onto every box and know exactly what's in there, so you can explain that to them in a really quick, succinct, organized way. You want to be able to almost read back to them everything that they're trained about and all the things they're going to be checking you on. I'm going to give you a bonus point real quick here. Just assume they're probably not going to politically agree with you. Okay, just don't get into any arguments and just move it along. Okay, the sooner you can come to peace with that, the better. Another big mistake I see people make is showing up and only having one form of navigation with them. If you show up and you just have your phone and it's got the GPS on it, it works great in most places, but it may or may not work optimally in Canada. And what I mean by that is you're going to have a lot of places where there's going to be a dead zone. And what happens if you get out there and there's some forest fire or some emergency and you have to reroute in a different direction and you have no clue where you're at? You know, the last directions you had is just stay on this road for 200 miles and you got nothing after that. You have no idea where you're at. So I would recommend having at least two forms of navigation with you. Make sure you have the phone, and at a very minimum, make sure you bring along some kind of a paper atlas, so at least you do have the option of using that if it does come to that. Another big mistake I see people make is not bringing any extra snacks, blankets, anything like that. They just assume everything is going to go swimmingly and that's just going to be one long road trip and in and out, no problem at all. And sometimes that works. Sometimes it does happen that way. And sometimes you break down. And when you break down, you're going to want that stuff because it might be a couple hours or it could be a day or so until somebody can get to you, just depending on how busy it is in the specific route that you chose. So make sure that you're bringing along the emergency stuff and the stuff that you're going to need in the event that you do break down. Another big mistake that I found out about, and I actually have made this mistake a couple times myself, is not calling ahead to the hotels or the Airbnb, well, usually the hotels, and hotels and gas stations, just to make sure that they are in fact open. Just because they have a website and it says they're open doesn't mean that they're actually open. You know, a lot of these places are kind of seasonal and they'll shut down during the winter time, and this actually applies during the summertime as well. This is a bonus point. Make sure that when you're traveling, you really, anytime you're about a half tank, you want to start looking around and finding like the next gas station, because you never know when they're gonna just leave you in a lurch and you're gonna have to go significantly longer than you thought you were gonna have to without a gas station because they just shut down, or that the hotel that said they were open is not actually open. I found out talking with some folks in podcast interview, it might actually be a good idea to go the Airbnb route, because if they're posting online their home is available or apartment or whatever is available, then there's a more likely chance that's actually going to be available than if you just try to show up at a hotel. Now, speaking of the podcast, let's go and take a break real quick. I do actually host the Alaskan Journey podcast, where I talk with people driven the Alcan and come up to Alaska in a lot of different ways, and we kind of talk about their experiences and interview people who've lived up here for a while and kind of get their pros and cons. This is a great resource for you, so if you're considering making a move up here to Alaska, do make sure you take advantage of that and go check out that podcast. The link for that is going to be in the description section down below. So make sure you go hop into that and enjoy, and let's finish today's video. One of the biggest mistakes you can make on the Alcan Highway is not having extra gas with you. And I'm not talking about bringing along an entire extra tank, but having 2.5, maybe 5 gallons. 5 gallons is probably a little excessive, but about 2.5 gallons. This is really just for in the event if you do run out of gas, because like I said, not every gas station is going to be open that says that it's open. So this is really just designed to kind of tide you over in the event that that does happen or some other emergency. If you don't really plan for that, then you are really just kind of setting yourself up for whatever environment throws your way. What I'm about to explain to you is one of the biggest mistakes you can make out there, and it almost always ends with you being on the side of the road, and that is going too fast. Now, you are really going to appreciate just how big of a mistake this is when you actually get out there and see just how wavy and uneven that road is and how pocketed it is with all the potholes. There's a lot of frost heave that happens out there, and that road for like a good 100 miles or so is just like the crater of Mars. And you're not going to be able to go any faster than 55 anyway. And if you are, then, like I said, you're probably going to end up on the side of the road, because that by the time you see some big pothole, you're going to be going too fast to be able to make any changes just with the way that road moves. So when in doubt, I would probably say go slower, which for some of you, that's going to be really difficult. But believe me, like the shocks and every other joint on your car is going to thank you, and it's going to save you a lot of time in the long run, because you're not going to be broken down and having to have someone come out and fix it, which is going to be pretty expensive if you're out in the Alcan. Now, this last one, I wouldn't necessarily say this is a requirement, but I would say if you are by yourself, I would plan on bringing some kind of sat phone along with you. Now, like I said, it's not a requirement. You might be able to get by just fine with just your phone, but if you're out there by yourself and something happens, you may or may not be able to use your phone to actually communicate with people. So I would plan on bringing some kind of a sat phone along with you, just so you do have that capability. Also, if you are moving with like a caravan or whatever, like you're bringing up your family and it's like 2 or 3 vehicles driving at the same time, bring some kind of a radio along with you as well, so you can all communicate with each other. That's going to help out a whole lot more than if you try to bring your phone and just think that's going to work out in the middle of nowhere. If you want a reliable way of communicating, then yes, the walkie-talkies, the radio is going to help you out quite a bit. So this has been really the top 7 most dumb things you can do out on the Alcan Highway, and it's not exhaustive. I'm pretty sure some dumb stuff on the highway that I'm just not thinking about right at the moment. So if you have anything you'd like to add to this list, by all means, feel free to drop it in the comments section down below. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.